If you knew that you were going to die tonight, and this evening was your last chance to be with your family, what would you say? Now, the reason I ask this question is because a couple of weeks ago at the church, we were on Sunday morning service, we were looking at the Gospel of Mark. Mark has 16 chapters. The first 8 chapters is Jesus building his ministry, and the last 8 chapters, half the book, is Jesus on his way to the cross, or to the wrapping up the story, and Jesus begins to talk to his disciples about his death. Well, while we were looking at that, I mentioned that probably I ought to ask this question of myself, answer the question on one of these Wednesday devotions. What would I say to my family if I knew that tonight was my last night alive and we were spending the evening together? Well, I'll take a quick break for a nature clip, and then we'll come right back and I'll answer the question. I'm not sure I've ever done this exactly this way before, but I think I'm going to cut this question right in the middle and answer it on 2 weeks, part of it this week, part of it next week, because I don't think I can do it in 1 week without going way overboard. So the question is, if I knew that I was going to die tonight, and this was my last evening to spend with my family, what would I say? Now, I've thought about this a lot the last couple of weeks as I've been preparing for this. What would I say? Well, and I've come to an idea that probably there would be a disparity between what I think I would say, what I would want to say, what in my mind I have rehearsed saying in the past, and what I really would say. So let me deal tonight or today with what I would say, and then let me touch on next week what I would like to have said. Okay, here's what I would say. Probably absolutely nothing. When they go home at the end of the day, I'll tell them all I love them, and that's about it. I love you. But some of those subjects, I'm going to die tonight. Some of those subjects are hard to bring up, and they're uncomfortable to talk about. And we just, as people, just kind of pull away from those kinds of discussions. Now, I've seen this so many times where a loved one is on hospice, and we just talk about the slightest things, and then that person has enough morphine that they cannot communicate with us, and we always wish we had said something that we didn't say at the time. Or a person who's dying, that person, we're about to lose a loved one. They're about to lose their whole world, everybody that they love. And it's pretty common for a person to, as they get closer and closer to the end of their lives, to retreat within themselves deeper and deeper and deeper until even if they are hearing us and the things that we are saying, they're maybe not choosing to communicate with us. So I think that probably I'm just a natural person, and I would kick myself later for this, but I think I wouldn't say anything. Now, I think that's the wrong way to handle it, but I think I wouldn't say anything. I think I know me well enough that I just kind of putter around lightweight subjects, and I talk with them about lightweight subjects and ask them about their work and their school and, the things they like to do, or else just listen to them and enjoy their company and tell them I love them and let them go, but not say the big things. Now, that's probably just because of the way I'm wired, maybe, because it's hard for me to communicate in some of those ways. And some people, it's easier for them to communicate. So what about you? If you knew this was your last night on earth, and if you were spending this night with your family, would you respond? Would you say something? Would you have something that you wanted to get across before you were gone? Or would you let those moments go into superfluous communication or just quiet lack of communication and enjoying each other's presence, which maybe isn't the bad way to live? Well, here's what I'd like you to do, a bit of homework. I've been wrestling with this idea for a couple of weeks. I want you to wrestle with it for a week or so. So between now and the middle of next week, when I finish this subject, I'd like you to honestly ask yourself, what would you like to get across in that scenario, in that situation? But what do you think you will get across when that situation comes? Because in some form or the other, you and I are both headed straight on toward that exact same scenario. It may be that it's an accident or something else, and that in just a moment's time, your last chance to communicate with your family is snuffed out. So at that time, what would you have wished that you had said now when we are in that window when we could? I'll let you think about it. That's all I have for this week. Next week, Part 2, what would I like to have said when I had that chance? I always say this, we are halfway through another week. In just a few days, we'll get to come together to worship our Lord again together. We're in the Lenten season, so we're headed toward Easter and toward spring and toward the cross. And it's a time of self-reflection and pretty serious thinking, as you can tell by the subject today. Well, may God bless you. And as difficult as it is, may God help us to say the things that He's calling us to say, when He's calling us to say it, even when they're not the easiest things to say. May God's